Calaroga Shark Media.
Hey there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Over the weekend, the President of the United States turned 80 years old, and Jimmy Kimmel wished the president a happy birthday over Instagram. Kimmel posted a birthday card that resembled a note that Trump had allegedly addressed to Jeffrey Epstein. Kimmel's card reads, "Happy 80th, Donald. A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." The president spent part of his birthday at the UFC event on the White House lawn. That's a thing that happened in the United States of America. There was a UFC event on the White House lawn. You might not have seen it because it was on Paramount Plus. It was a big celebration, and we had to put it on a streaming service. So if you didn't see it, you may have missed Joe Rogan's tie. Whatever you think of Joe Rogan, he's terrible at ties. This tie came about 3 inches high of his belly button. Unless Joe Rogan thought he was at UFC 1974, I don't know why his tie was so short. Now, some celebrities were there. The Daily Beast had the headline, "Emmy-nominated comedian exposed as MAGA at Trump's UFC fight." They tell us Nate Bargatze, who has hosted Saturday Night Live twice, had largely escaped the limelight at the dizzying spectacle at the White House on Sunday until Cheryl Hines, the wife of Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., uploaded a snap of the trio together on Instagram with Vice President J.D. Vance in the background. That's right, there's a photo. You see Nate Bargatze, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and wife Cheryl Hines. Nate did not share this on his own Instagram, where he has 3.1 million followers. He also didn't mention it on Twitter. Didn't mention it at all. Nate, did you not have fun at the UFC event on the lawn of the White House celebrating the president's 80th birthday? Seems like something you'd promote. Shane Gillis was at the event. Now, during the event, one of the UFC fighters made a horrible comment about Michelle Obama. I'm not going to share the comment with you. Shane Gillis said he didn't like it. Let's listen to the audio of Shane. I believe this is after the event. He's being bothered by the paparazzi. And as you can hear, Shane travels with people now. He's got people running interference for him. So if you think Shane Gillis is just like, a goofy guy in a baseball hat showing up at an event, no. He's got people. Listen.
I didn't love that. Come on.
Shane, jump in here. How come? Jump in, Shane.
Why do you think? Should be, guys. Come on.
How was it?
Shane, what do you think of Shane, what do you think
I don't like that shit.
Trump's job performance in office? What do you think of the cancel culture?
You guys got me on a couple brewskis.
All right, thank you guys.
But yeah, I didn't like that.
Okay.
Why don't you both sides this thing, Johnny Mac? Okay, I will. The worst person who ever lived, Jay Leno, he's got a guest on his little television show there. The guest, former President Joe Biden. That's right, Joe Biden and Joe Biden's 1967 Corvette Stingray are on a very special edition of Jay Leno's Garage. You'll find this on Jay Leno's YouTube channel. In it, we see Jay Leno, who stole The Tonight Show back from Conan O'Brien, driving around Los Angeles with the former president. Former President Biden told Deadline, "Jay's been asking for years to drive my Corvette, so I said, why the hell not? Jay and his team are the best, and we had a great time catching up while driving through the Angeles National Forest, and the vet drove like a charm." The duo did talk about the current job holder. Biden reflected on his own tenure in the job and took a few swipes at the former host of The Apprentice. Joe Biden said he's cutting back on all the programs that have apprenticeships and create jobs. I see what you did there. We're told they were followed by Secret Service SUVs and police. Biden and Leno also riff on the value of NATO, natural parks, Beau Biden's life and death, being designated drivers, horsepower, Ronald Reagan's motorcycle, and ice cream. Yes, former President Biden and former Tonight Show host Leno stopped by Handles. Leno said, all right, so we went for ice cream, We got there and a bunch of little kids waiting for ice cream, And I said, anybody ever meet a president of the United States? No, well, this guy's president. I mean, it's just very funny. Yeah, 8, 9-year-old kids, So it's very funny watching him interact with the kids. They loved him. Jay Leno also had an In-N-Out cookout truck on site at his Burbank garage to serve Joe Biden lunch during the visit. We are told Joe did pay for the kids' ice creams as well as Jay Leno's ice cream. Leno said, he was the old Joe, every handshake's worth 250 votes, that kind of thing. Shook hands with everybody, just congenial, just a nice guy. Now, they got into the topic of how sharp and how old a president might be. Sometimes people would accuse a sitting president of falling asleep during meetings. That has happened on both sides. I remember at one point, some people referred to Biden as Sleepy Joe. Others are on Instagram every day, catching the president blinking and saying he's falling asleep in meetings. Jay Leno said it's interesting because Joe was very, very sharp. I thought maybe I'd have to talk in a slower voice, you know what I mean? But no, we just talked and he was funny and just making jokes and things like that. I think a year of relaxation and taking it easy, just being a normal guy was great for him. Really, he was the old Joe again. It was great to see him. Are you watching World Cup soccer? Well, James Corden's got that show. What's it called again? A Show After Soccer with James Corden. Pretty sure that's the name of the show. And on Friday night, he had on Sebastian Maniscalco. Now, I'm going to play a clip for you, but let me set it up. Okay, so the bit here is Sebastian is making his way from the World Cup soccer game to James Corden's studio. We see Sebastian on his phone, but then we cut away to a helicopter shot, and the helicopter is tracking Sebastian Maniscalco in a car that has the proper name of the show on top of the car. Now, I watched this, and I'm like, that was really lame, and I'm going to play it for you in a second. But then I thought, if David Letterman, especially in the 80s, did this exact bit top to bottom, hey, Sebastian Maniscalco's there, let's cut to the helicopter. Sebastian, can you wave out the window? We would have thought this was the greatest thing ever. There's something about David Letterman that would have made this exact, word for word, letter for letter, second for second bit really cool, but the James Corden version is kind of lame.
How you doing, Sebastian?
I'm good. I think I'm going to make it. I don't know with this LA traffic, although I think we hit we're on an open road here. So, yeah, I'm coming. So save a seat, pour a drink.
We're saving.
Let's talk some soccer.
We will. Hey, Sebastian, so if you can still hear me, lean out of the car window and give the helicopter a wave. Can you do that for me? See if there's a helicopter above you right now. See if you... Hang on.
Yeah, I'm outside.
Hang on. We've got some trees.
Right now.
There he is. There he is!
I see the helicopter.
He's on his way. He's on his way. We'll see you soon, Sebastian.
Now, this next story came together pretty quickly, or I would have told you about it. The world champion New York Knicks were scheduled to be the guests on last night's Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. Fallon was seen at a couple games. Fallon said a booking 53 years in the making. The episode was scheduled to feature head coach Mike Brown, NBA Finals MVP Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, you know him as Cat, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, Michael Bridges, and the entire Knicks team, including my favorite, Jordan Clarkson. The plan was for Fallon's entire audience at 30 Rock to be comprised of diehard Knicks fans. So this will give us something to talk about tomorrow. Mark Maron was on Kara Swisher's podcast. He's not a big fan of the Netflix thing. Now, Netflix thinks that Netflix is airing podcasts, but they're not. Netflix is airing cheaply produced television shows, and Mark Maron had some thoughts about that.
Hey, it's John editing the show. I forgot to mention I made many edits to Mark Maron here for language.
When I saw, podcasts on the menu of Netflix, I'm like, it's over. With the bar has been lowered to such a degree that people will sit at home and watch people on Zoom with half their face covered up by a Shure SM7. It's like, what is wrong with people? Like, do they not have any friends? Are they not curious about anything? Do they not use their brain anymore? They can't think. They got to have three idiots to entertain them. I mean, it's like a world of drive time radio.
Right.
It's the worst.
Right. So why do you think it's popular?
Huh?
Why do you think it's popular?
Because people are lazy and they'll adapt to anything. And they're lonely and they want to have parasocial relationships with people they feel that they're like, which means usually amateurs.
Mark Maron started to talk about the Manosphere podcasters. He said, I knew them before there was a Manosphere. I knew them as comics. I knew Rogan when he started in Boston. I've known these guys. We're somewhat of a weird tribe in a community. So it gets to a point where my politics are what they are. I'm team left. I'm not going to make all the games, right? But I'm team left. Going down to fight that. It's like with the Theo Von thing. That's a joke, and it's a good joke. To do Theo interviewing Hitler is hilarious. And I got to a place where that joke where I'm like, how could Theo get mad at me for this? It's funny. Kara Swisher was curious. Did they get mad at him? Maron said, well, Joe said he got mad at me. I don't know. All right, guys. So I've been warning you. You think I'm messing around here. I went to Sharealytics. And I know that some of you didn't share the show. Now, if you shared the show, why don't you hit 30-second skip like 3 times? But the rest of you, you're going to be punished because it's June, and we're sharing the show with a friend. We're growing the show. So unless I see double the numbers, I know that some of you haven't done it. So your phone's in your hand right now. Push the share button and send it to somebody and be like, hey, there's this weird guy and he keeps threatening to play Nikki Glaser music if I don't do this. I mean, the next step is I'm going to escalate. I'm going to come to your house and sit across the street in a Trans Am with a boombox, and I'm going to play Nikki Glaser's song over and over until you share the show. So here is your daily punishment for not sharing the show on Netflix. Ladies and gentlemen, Nikki Glaser singing.
I read a comment. I let a strange man poison my day. It's not uncommon. It's getting old. Looking my age.
Okay, none of us want that, right? You don't want that, so share the show. Also follow the show on Spotify and turn on notifications. If you need something to watch tonight on the 800-Pound Gorilla YouTube channel, it's Emmy Blotnick's What's Her Secret? If you need something to listen to, Deadline Means Business had this pretty good interview with Ari Shaffir. Ari got into his breakup with Comedy Central. Now, that episode's from April. I only got to it on Monday when it was beautiful out, and I went for a run. And I am now learning on the fly that I didn't actually put anything in my script for the second half of the podcast, which means we're going to talk about Vulture's review of Tony Hinchcliffe's show, which I thought I was going to bump to tomorrow, but apparently not. Vulture writes, just to get this out of the way, anyone inclined to dislike Tony Hinchcliffe's new Netflix special Man of the People on principle is not going to change their mind based on its material. While the comedian has amassed a huge fan base owing to his popular quasi-open mic podcast Kill Tony and Work at Comedy Roasts, he's accumulated an equally large amount of haters because of controversial jokes he told at a Donald Trump rally in 2024 and the roast of Kevin Hart last month, and predictably, this new hour is full of similar button-pushing provocations. To the extent that Man of the People has an organizing idea, it's that Hinchcliffe has the right to be an equal opportunity offender because he is, as the special's title implies, a comedy version of the people's champion. Mostly, he dips in and out of crowd work to create the impression that the audience's perspective matters and that they're all enthusiastic participants in this performance. Unfortunately, this is not how his forays into the crowd play out. On 4 separate occasions, Hinchcliffe turns to an audience member of a particular demographic to reinforce a stereotype about them, and the audience member's response introduces nuance that undermines his premise. Even on a basic technical level, Hinchcliffe's crowd work interactions fail to create the communal vibe he's after because the audience, despite playing such a prominent role in the special, are not mic'd. Now, I disagree with this next part. Midway through the special, Hinchcliffe calls on a Chinese member of the audience to help him reinforce a hack joke he's just told about Asian people being bad drivers. Tony asks her what kind of car she drives. The answer, Honda Civic. What car she drove previously. That was a setup to imply a joke. I won't spoil it, where we were heading. We find out it's her first. How long she's had the Civic, the answer since 2017, and whether she's ever been in a car accident, the answer is no. See, Tony was hoping for a yes, and then he would have done a joke about Asian drivers. Vulture writes, stunned that she's never totaled a car and doesn't fit into the box. His bit revolves around Hinchcliffe cuts his losses and says, you just effed up my joke, and concedes it wasted 2.5 minutes. That's what was funny about it, that the joke went nowhere. That's what was funny. Come on, Vulture. Vulture adds, it is special so poorly executed from top to bottom, it's far from the most notable misfire. Guys, let me explain something to you. You hit play on a Tony Hinchcliffe thing on Netflix. What did you think you were getting? No, seriously, I'm asking you, Vulture. What did you think was going to happen? It's Tony Hinchcliffe. You hit play. What did you think was going to happen? When you hit play on the next Sebastian Maniscalco special, do you think he's going to break down Israel versus Palestine in a meaningful way and hit Carlin-level heights? Do you think he's going to do that? Or is he just going to mug for the camera and do Italian restaurant jokes? What do you think Sebastian's going to do? The next time you hit play on a George Lopez special, what do you think George Lopez is going to do? You think maybe, perhaps, he'll tell some jokes from a Mexican-American perspective? Jokes about family? Maybe take some shots at some non-Mexican descent Americans? You think Lopez is going to do that? So don't be surprised when you hit play on a comedy special and you get what the person does. Maybe you don't like Tony Hinchcliffe, but to sit there and be stunned that this is what Tony Hinchcliffe does, I don't get it. That's your comedy news for today. Comments are open on Spotify. Comments are open in the Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast group. Look, Tony, not the greatest thing I've ever watched. It's also not the worst thing I've watched this year. See you tomorrow.